All right, welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. My name is Will Clegg. I am one of the co-hosts, co-producers, co-creators of this show. By round of applause, how many folks here have ever been to one of our shows before? All right, a lot of returning champions, great. And so how many people have never seen us before? Round of applause. All right. So maybe you don't know exactly what you're in for here. The title kind of says it all. This is a true storytelling show. So you're going to have 5 of New York's greatest storytellers, handpicked by myself and my co-producer. They're going to come up here and tell you a true story that takes place during their teenage years. And so by default, it's going to be awkward. So these are mostly stories about like a lot of firsts. You know, we have like first kisses, first time, breaking a bone or failing a test. But ultimately, they're all about coming of age. That's what we love about this show so much. And I want to thank you all so much for coming out here. It is during the Queerly Festival, as you heard. I did not program this show to be part of the Queerly Festival. I blew it. That's on me. But just if you were expecting that to be the case, it will be next year, because I will not fuck it up twice. We're going to wait a few minutes for some latecomers to arrive. And while we do that, I'm going to tell you a little story of my own awkward teenage years. And then we'll get started with our 5 lovely folks up here in the front. So this story takes place 31 years ago this month. It's July, and I'm 14 years old, and I'm on an airplane from Charlotte, North Carolina to Jackson Hole, Wyoming by myself. I've never flown anywhere by myself before. And I have to say, looking back now, it seems crazy that I was on this plane by myself for so many hours. I have a 2-year-old daughter at home. And when I think about like sending her on a plane by herself, like ever, I'm like I probably won't do that until she's 30, right? But I'm 14, and I'm going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, because my parents have sent me on something called Wilderness Ventures. Anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, okay, somebody's like a half of a yes. Okay, good. There's other programs similar to it called like NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership School. It's a thing where you send well-to-do kids who do too many drugs to go out and be in nature for a month where they can't do any drugs, heavily supervised. That was not my understanding of it at the time. That's what I know now. At the time, all I knew was I'd been getting in a lot of trouble. And the big thing that had happened was I had been caught by my parents with a bag of weed in my sock drawer. The thing is, it was not actually weed. It was in the bag. It was parsley and oregano that I had put in the bag on purpose because I was selling that to other kids so I could get money to buy real weed for myself. And I left one in there because, you're a little like loosey-goosey with it when it's not real. My parents find it, and I don't want to tell them that it's just like, spaghetti sauce spices. So I get this long talking to, I get grounded, but it doesn't stop me from like smoking pot. And like, it's like, they don't find any more stuff. But when I come home with bloodshot eyes every day and eat like a whole box of macaroni and cheese, like they know something's going on. So they signed me up for this Wilderness Ventures. I've never slept outside in my life. I do not enjoy hiking. I don't own any of the things that you have to be outside for a month, So like I'm flying out there with this like brand new backpack that's just filled with a bunch of shit that I don't know how to use. The backpack is so heavy, by the way, that young Will over here, very frail. First time I put it on, I fell over because I couldn't hold it all the way up. We had to take some things out for the trip. And so I'm just angry. I'm angry flying out there. I don't know anybody who's going to be on this trip with me. I just want to be back at home where I have easy access to my cigarettes and my marijuana. And I'm not going to have any of that in Wyoming. So I arrive in the airport. I've never been out of the Eastern time zone before. You know what I mean? So like this is just all like brand new. The airport is in the middle of the mountains. It is basically just like 2 double wide trailers. You get off the plane and you just walk onto the tarmac. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And thankfully somebody's there with like my name on a piece of paper, like in a movie, and they gather me up along with the other kids who are arriving, and we get in a van and we go, and there's 30 teenagers. and we all meet up and immediately like start forming cliques like you do in middle and high school, and like I'm happy, like I'm starting to make some new friends, some other people who also play soccer like me, and a couple other guys, with weird long hair like I have. I'm the only one wearing only grunge band T-shirts, though. I'm the youngest one on this trip. Most of the other people are like going to be juniors and seniors. Some are even going to be freshmen in college. And so I immediately get the nickname the Wild Child. And we're being supervised by like people who are not that much older than us. They're college students, actually. And so they are kind of watching this all happen, and they quickly see with the cliques forming, and then they split those up. So they split us into 3 groups to go off into the wilderness for 7 days. And now we have to make friends again, and I'm immediately like overwhelmed by not only having to meet a bunch of new people, but learning to pitch a tent, like how to cook over an open flame and dig a latrine. We're really doing it. Like we go to the trailhead and leave there, and we're not going to be back near civilization for 7 days. And it's grueling. It's 8 to 12 miles of hiking every day with this backpack that's bigger than me. And I'm a soccer player, so I'm in soccer shape. I'm not like in football shape, so I don't have any upper body strength at all. And I'm like building it as we're going, getting blisters all over my feet. It's just all very uncomfortable. But also I've never been out in nature this long before. So just like seeing these babbling brooks, and like we catch the sight of the butt of a black bear running into the bushes. Like it's all kind of exciting and different. And, I'm having both the best time and the worst time, I guess. The 5th day of this hike, we are trying to get to the summit of a mountain. And right before we get to the top, a blizzard comes in. And most of us are like, oh, cool, like snow in July. You never see that, right? But very quickly, it overwhelms us. And we start to get like soaking wet. And we have all of our, Gore-Tex rain gear packed away in our bags. We can't get it out fast enough and get it on. So by the time we do, we're all just very wet and very cold. And again, very frail. Don't have any gristle on me yet, at 14. And so I get soaked to the bone. And I just get very, very cold. And by the time we actually stop and make camp, I can't stop shivering. And everybody starts to be like very concerned about me. And they quickly changed me into somebody else's warm clothes that are not wet and put me in my sleeping bag and put me in the tent at like 5 p.m. Very unusual. We usually stay up until like 9:30 or 10 around the campfire, but I have been told under no circumstances to get out of the sleeping bag. And everybody comes in, telling me, you got to sleep, you got to rest, but they keep shining flashlights into the tent. And I keep waking up thinking I'm on the highway and there's like cars coming at me. And I guess I'm hallucinating. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I've been asleep or not. And everything's just very confusing. Eventually, I pass out. And I wake up the next morning and it's like 9 a.m. Again, very unusual. We almost always get up with the sunrise. And everybody else is up and has already eaten and everything. And I come out of the tent and they're all just like overjoyed to see me. And I'm like, what is going on? The sky is now clear. It's a beautiful day. And they're like, we're so glad that you're doing better. I'm like, was I doing bad? But I just kind of shake it off. I don't know, like I'm 14, like there's lots of things happening. We're all packing up and getting ready to go to the summit, so I don't really think too much about it. We go, this is the summit. It's fucking incredible, right? And we hang out up there for the day, and I bounce back pretty quick because, like, aside from all the cigarette smoking that I do, I actually am in pretty good soccer shape, and I'm 14, so like you heal immediately from everything, right? And so we complete the next couple of days hike back down the mountain, and we get back to the base camp, and they finally tell me that I had hypothermia up there, and they wanted to medevac me, but they couldn't because of the storm. And they just had to ride it out, see if I was going to make it through the night. That's what a college kid told me 2 days after. So I guess I almost died. Maybe better that I didn't know at the time, right? But so we get back to town, to Jackson Hole, and we have like a free day, finally back in civilization, Jackson Hole in 1994. But we get to just do whatever we want. So me and a few of the guys that I met the first day immediately go and buy all of the tobacco products at the mini mart. And then we go to a little like bar grill place, go to the bathroom and sit in the stalls and just chain smoke cigarettes. This is, 1994, you could do anything, anywhere, I guess. And it's disgusting. It's honestly disgusting. Like at home, smoking is cool, sitting in a bathroom stall, chain smoking, not cool. Not cool at all, especially if you've been breathing like nice mountain air for 7 days. And then we leave there and we go and we buy all the gum and the breath spray and everything to cover our tracks. Like, they obviously knew what we were doing anyway, but we do our best to cover our tracks. And as we're all going back, I feel like this like thing I've never felt before is the shame about like smoking and all the drugs that I've been doing back home too, because I've been talking to some of these guys who are a little older than me, and like this is when I start to realize why we're on the strip. Lots of them have been like kicked off of their sports teams, suspended from school. One guy was expelled from his nice private high school in Virginia, all for drinking and doing drugs. And it starts to dawn on me like, oh my God, like this is going to be me in 2 years, right? And maybe I actually don't want that to be me in 2 years. I don't want to be back on one of these trips with a much worse situation to go home to. And I'm not going to pretend that I was scared straight, okay? I definitely still like smoked weed. I smoked cigarettes for a while longer too. But I started to pull back from it. Like I peaked my drug use, believe it or not, at the age of 14. My mom loves hearing these kinds of stories, by the way. But yeah, I feel like that trip is when I really, truly started to become an adult about all of my vices after that. So that's my Wilderness Ventures story. They're out of business now, by the way, so I feel like I can freely use their name. And it's because of stories like this. But not this one in particular. So that's it. Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, so we didn't have any latecomers, and that's okay. If they come now, they're locked out. We're going to get the show started for real. You guys ready for your first storyteller? Yes? Okay. Good. All right, our first storyteller, this is her first time on Awkward Teenage Years. We're really excited about that. She's a writer, actor, and artist who's based in Brooklyn, and she performs with the Second City House Company. Her original show, Broads in the Attic, will be at Caveat coming up on Monday the 7th. That's this coming Monday. And at UCB on July 12th before they go to the Edinburgh Fringe. Very exciting. Please welcome to the stage Mikayla Sherfy.
Hi, y'all. How you doing? Great. That's me. Let's get into it. When I was about 10 years old, I started having trouble breathing in gym class. I would start wheezing, and sometimes I'd start blacking out, and sometimes I passed out. And so naturally, everybody thought that I was faking it for attention. Which I can't fully blame them, because I did love attention. I was a theater kid, all right? I would do anything for attention. I still would. Let's be honest. I would perform at a subterranean comedy club on a Wednesday night and tell a bunch of strangers a really embarrassing story about myself for attention. But it is a weird first response when you see a kid struggling to breathe to be like, hey, Sherfy, it's not an audition for Blue Man Group. Get up, get back out on the field. And then when I didn't move, they'd be like, oh, asthma. And that's how they diagnose asthma in Missouri, where I'm from. Yeah, so I immediately got put on an inhaler. That didn't work. And then another and another, until finally I was on 2 steroid inhalers twice a day. Yeah, that was crazy for me, because I had just graduated DARE. And now that t-shirt just meant nothing. And the only other information I had about steroids was from Law & Order SVU, the one where the guy murders his girlfriend in a roid-induced rage. It seemed like a lot of pressure for me at 10 So I was afraid. I was afraid of my inhaler. Every time I was like, am I gonna roid rage my gym class? Am I gonna roid rage like my friends or my family or myself? And then I started to feel kind of like I can't breathe. But the only thing that could help me was the inhaler that did nothing. It was more like inhaling pure anxiety, which is another diagnosis I would get. But later, because now I was busy. I was busy slowly losing consciousness on the flag football field in front of Mr. Reidenbach's 5th grade class. That's how I found out I don't have asthma. But I did eventually get the right diagnosis. It's good. I found a good doctor in Missouri. Apparently there's one. And I have VCD, which is vocal cord dysfunction. It's this condition where when they become stressed, your vocal cords will slowly close over your trachea until it's as if you're breathing through a straw. If you're anything like me, just the idea of breathing heavily through a straw kind of gives you anxiety. and when you get anxiety, it's hard to breathe. And when you struggle to breathe, the straw gets smaller. And then you start to pass out. Which, ironically, is the best thing that could happen to someone with VCD, because when you pass out, all those muscles, they just relax. Yeah, and then everything goes back to normal. It's great. But the thing about passing out is that there's never like a chill place to do it. It's never like, oh my God, everything's going black. Good thing I'm in Mattress Firm. No, it's never like that. So there has to be a better way, a better solution, and there is, because VCD is 100% not fatal. It can be cured with speech therapy and breathing exercises. So that's how at around 12 years old I started going to Lamaze. Yeah. And Lamaze, it gave me anxiety. But here's the thing. Here's why. I wasn't good at it. Like, I couldn't wrap my 12-year-old brain around actively controlling your breath while you were freaking out. It didn't make sense to me. But luckily, I did have that one good doctor who found out that I could subconsciously control my breathing while I was singing. Yeah. So that became my cure. Singing. Is there anything that says she's faking it for attention more than bursting into song, right? Like, when was the last time you were worried about someone who was singing? Maybe never, maybe neither, right? Someone could be standing in front of me with their knee bent backwards, but if they were like, that's that me espresso, I'd be like, oh, they're good, they're good. They don't need like my help. I am grateful though. I really am. It was best case scenario, best diagnosis, honestly. But it really was a downgrade. Teachers are so much nicer to you when they're afraid you might like die on their watch. Yeah, I lost all of my asthma kid privileges like that. Yeah, they heard therapy. They were like, oh, she's back to faking it. Okay. Back to square one, back to running the mile twice a year. Yeah, through the years, I was able to kind of get out of that one. Like, I'd ditch, or I'd like be sick, or I'd do that thing where you're like way too cool to exert yourself in any way. And then I was informed that I was like failing gym. Yeah, so I had to run the mile to graduate 8th grade. That was the deal, and that day came. And I showed up to the track with sneakers on my feet and a song in my heart. And I just start running. And of course, like 5 minutes in, I have an attack. But I'm ready, I'm prepared. I know what to do this time. I just have to remain calm. But when you're running, you get to thinking, and I get to thinking about the straw. And then I'm breathing through the straw. And then I kind of start to freak out. And there's a lot of people around, and I'm sort of panicking, and then the straw's getting smaller, and everything's getting dark, and I forget my songs. All of them are gone because there's limited oxygen running to my brain, and my mind is a blank canvas. And but God damn it, I'm a theater kid. And my theater kid instincts kicked in, as they'll do. And I know one song, so I start to sing, memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can dream of the old days. Life was beautiful then. And I'm just being circled by Mrs. Moses' 8th grade class. And I remember the time I knew what happiness was. But you know what? It worked. Yeah, I got up. I finished the mile. 15 minutes, by the way. Thank you. And I graduated 8th grade. All right, thank you. Thank you. And I promptly, after that, transferred high schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mikayla. You're right. There's no good place to pass out. You know, I have a whole solo show about passing out, and it includes. It's true. It's called syncope, which means passing out. Yeah, I passed out in a bathtub once. Not a good place. Not a good place. Another time, into a screen door that had just moments before been a glass door, so that was almost a total disaster. The thing about like having to run the mile to graduate 8th grade just got me thinking about like in college I had to swim back and forth across a swimming pool in order to graduate. That's a real thing that they make you do at Columbia University, and they said that it was in the old days they would make you swim across the Hudson to graduate, which they certainly can't do that anymore. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know, crazy stuff that make you do to graduate. One more time for Mikayla, everybody. Great story. Great story. All right, let's keep this show moving. Our next storyteller, this is her second appearance on the show, but it's the first time in a long time. We're really happy to have her back. She has lived most of her life in New York, but is a diehard Boston Red Sox fan. Same, also. Yes, she co-hosts a storytelling show the last Wednesday of every month at the Pine Box Rock Shop. Really excited to have her here. Please welcome Ronna Levy.
Yeah, this is good, right? Okay, great. Okay. I wanted to be Doris Day. I wanted blonde hair, blue eyes, a little turned up nose. I wanted high cheekbones, straight white teeth, a thin body. I mean, that is the image that I saw on television. Commercials, TV shows, blonde, blue-eyed, thin. I wanted to be on TV. But I was chubby. I had brown hair, brown eyes. Pretty sure I needed a nose job, and I'm pretty sure I needed braces. So I asked my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, can I have a nose job and braces?" And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, "No." So I need to act on TV. So I'm like, "Hey, Dad, can I take acting classes?" And he says, "No, you're taking bat mitzvah classes." So now I'm kind of desperate, and I'm like, okay, I know the answer's going to be no, but, "Hey, Dad, can I move to California?" He says, "No, you live in Massachusetts, go do your homework." Here's the thing. All I wanted, all I dreamed about was living in a TV sitcom family. I wanted to be in California where it's sunny all the time and there's a mom who's kind of cool and you can tell her anything, and the dad smiles a lot and he works 9 to 5, and the kids don't have to set the dinner table Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they don't have to load the dishwasher with dirty dishes Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you don't get grounded. And life is just, it's simple and optimistic and bland, like mashed potatoes. And everybody's happy. And problems are solved in 30 minutes. I mean, okay, I don't hate my middle-of-the-road, middle-class family where I am expected to be a regular girl, grow up, go to college, get a regular job, get married, have kids, and live regularly ever after. That's not a sitcom. And that's not the family I wanted to be in. So I would just like daydream. I would think of other families like Fred McMurray and My Three Sons became My Three Sons and a Daughter. I was with Betty Buckley, and 8 is enough became 9 is enough. Or Mr. Roper, and Three's Company became Four's Company. I dreamed, but you know, I lived in Massachusetts, and I had to do my homework after school. But I wasn't involved in any after-school activities, like I didn't run track or do cheerleading stuff. My after-school activity was eating potato chips, sitting in the kitchen in front of a black and white portable TV that was on the counter, and I would watch Phil Donahue, The Match Game, The Young and the Restless, everything. And if I wasn't watching TV, I was reading the Bible, which was the TV Guide magazine that was delivered to my house every Friday. I would study that. The TV Guide, it had everything in it. It had all the shows, what day they were on, what time they were on, what channel they were on. They gave you a summary of the show. They named all the actors. There were articles in there like about the Partridge Family and David Cassidy's love life. And sometimes they had behind the scenes like about the Monkees and how that group started. And there was a TV-themed crossword puzzle, which I could do easy peasy because I knew all the actors, all the shows, all the characters. I had so much useless TV information. But the best thing was, the pièce de résistance, was the fall preview issue. Now that TV Guide came out like in August, and it was thick, and it had everything in it. It had all the TV shows that were canceled, all the TV shows that were renewed, and the brand new TV shows, so I could map out my back-to-school TV watching. Hey. Okay, but I didn't watch TV Friday nights and Saturday nights because I was hanging with the girls. Like, we would go to football games, the Dairy Queen, and we'd go drinking in the cornfields. And we had this ritual before we would go drinking. We would go to Debbie's house, and we would blast Sympathy for the Devil, and we'd dance, and we would eat pita bread with Wisp Pride port wine cheese spread, and then we would knock it back with a can of Tab. And then we were pumped, and we were ready to go drinking in the cornfields. Now, Debbie knew this girl who knew another girl who was over 21, and she would get us our pot and our booze, and I would give her my $1, and she would get my 97-cent bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill wine. Yeah, which actually only has 7% alcohol. I mean, think about it. The Robitussin cough syrup that my parents gave me when I was 5 had upwards of 20% alcohol. And the Listerine mouthwash in our medicine chest, that had upwards of 27% alcohol. I mean, basically, I'm in the cornfields drinking Sunny D. I drink, I smoke pot, and I mainline TV until college. So I'm going to get ready to go to college, and okay, I still want to be in a TV sitcom. So I asked my dad, I said, hey, can I go to a theater college? He says, no, you're going to the state school. So I do. But for my high school graduation, I get a portable TV, and when I get to campus, I get my own subscription to the TV Guide, and I map out all my classes so that I'm home by noon, so that I can watch all my talk shows, and all my game shows, and all my soap operas. And of course, at night, I watch all my sitcoms. So, go to college, graduate, and now I am ready to be on a sitcom. And so I moved to New York. And I waitress. And I have an alcoholic ex-con parolee as a boyfriend. And I proofread pornography magazines for a guy named Smokey Mims from Beeline Books. And that is what happens when you go to a state school. Eventually, I do get to California, where it's sunny all the time, and everybody's like happy, and they're in their own like la TV land, and like it's time for my dream catcher. And I waitress. And I start teaching in a downtown community college in Los Angeles. And the students are kind of like my family. And I'm like in the front of the room, and I'm kind of doing a show, right? And it's not like Welcome Back, Kotter. I don't want to admit that I like it, but I like it. But I kind of pretend that like now I'm in the movies, like this is Up the Down Staircase, or To Sir with Love, or Dangerous Minds. But I like it. I like it. And it's like, with my brown hair and my brown eyes and without a nose job and without braces, I finally find the role that I'm supposed to play. And it's not in a sitcom, it's in the classroom. And I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Oh, that whole story is just like injecting nostalgia right in my veins. I love it. When you're talking about the dollar wine, like when I was a teenager, I would buy packs of cigarettes for 99 cents. You know, Harley Davidson cigarettes. I hope they don't still make those. I think they're just made with the exhaust of Harley Davidson motorcycles. But now cigarettes are like $30 a pack. I don't know. I haven't smoked in 20 years, but crazy. And you know, it's incredible you were able to watch that much TV. I was actually not allowed to watch the television at all, except for Saturday mornings for like 2 hours. And I didn't realize that was a little weird until like pretty recently. But incredible that you watched that much. I watched a lot of movies, to be fair. Spent a lot of time in movie theaters instead. But that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Ronna. Ronna will be performing at QED at the end of July on a show called New Tricks, which is all storytellers over 40, which is a fun show if you want to check that out. QED.com, I think. I don't know. That's probably not the website. But you can find it. All right. Keeping the show moving. We have another storyteller coming to the stage now who's been on our show. I don't really know how many times. 5? He says 5. I believe him. Yeah. It's always a treat when he's performing with us. He is a documentary filmmaker, excellent storyteller, winner of 2 Grand Slams at the Moth, and his work has been featured on NPR. Please welcome to the stage Dave Kalema.
In March of 2012, I land and I get off the plane, and I'm in Geneva, Switzerland for the very first time in my life. And I'm walking to customs, and customs has these double doors that open wide. And there she is, my mom. And she has this big smile that I've always known her to have every time she's excited to see me and every time I haven't seen her in a long time. And this time particularly had been 4 months. And she gives me this big hug. And she's like, let's go. And we leave the airport and we hop on the tram. And the tram in Geneva they're like streetcars. They're like subways above ground, woven into the traffic and the design of the city. And we hop on 3 of these. And she's been there for 4 months, but she's moving around the city like she's lived there her whole life. And we get to the southwest part of Geneva, and we're in this studio apartment that she's been living in since she moved there. And I'm jet lagged, I'm tired, I just got off the plane, but I'm a little mystified looking around the setting because I'm confused about how this woman could give up this life that we had in DC with the single family home and the driveway in the backyard for this. And I look at her and I ask, are you lonely? And without hesitation, with conviction, she looks at me with that smile and she says, how can I be? I got my dream job. And I believed her. With every fiber of her soul, she said that. And we put my stuff down, we eat a meal, and then she's like, let me take you to the office. So she's doing that thing where she looks so comfortable in this city, and we get there, and we walk into the atrium, the lobby, and it's exactly what you expect from the United Nations. There's flags everywhere, there's people of every shade and color, and she's so excited, and we go up to the 5th floor, and we get there, and it was almost like she had rolled out the red carpet for me, like she had like thrown this party, like my son is coming, and everyone's like, oh my God, David, your mom told us you were coming. Oh my God, you look just like the pictures. Oh my gosh, it's so good to meet you. We can't wait until you move here in the summer. And that line got me. Because I could accept the fact that at 19, on my spring break from college, that my mom had taken a dream job. It was a deal or no deal. It was, you gotta move now, or we go in another direction. And if you've been working for something for 20 years, she was like, no, I'm going. And the family was coming in the summer, but I hadn't accepted the fact that this would be my home too. So everybody's like, oh my gosh, here's your mom's office. We're so excited, we love Barbara. And Marley comes in, and Marley, I've heard about Marley. Marley's like, some people have like work wives or, work husbands. Marley's like my mom's best friend at work, right? And Marley's like, I can't wait for Saturday night. It's gonna be a blast. Barbara, I have to go. See you on Saturday. And I'm like, Mom, what's she talking about? She's like, oh, no, you'll see. It's okay, we got a surprise. And that was my introduction to my mom's life in Geneva, Switzerland. And that week, we're going out to dinner, and we're looking at houses, right? And we're meeting these real estate brokers, and she's saying things like, can you imagine this being your room? Oh, I think this is gonna be your room. And I can't tell her that I haven't accepted the fact that this is happening for the whole family, because she looks so beautiful. Like, have you ever seen somebody who's like living in their dream? There's a radiance about it, and she had it. And I wasn't gonna be the person to be like, because I haven't accepted it, I'm gonna be like, I don't know. I was just like, this is my room, Mom. I see it. And it's this beautiful week where she's showing me around, and I'm looking at her trying to be like, man, you really did move. Like, are you happy because of the job? Are you happy because you don't have to deal with us? Like, what's going on? And Saturday comes, and I'm like, man, what was Marley talking about? And Mom's like, okay, Marley thought it would be a good idea if you go out on the town with her son, Brian. And I'm like, you set me up on an adult play date? And she's like, no, when you come back in the summer, I want you to have somebody who you know you're gonna be friends with. And I'm leaving the next morning, and I'm like, I think I should spend my last night with my mom, right? And she's like, no, Brian's gonna show you around, it's gonna be great. So at Saturday at 8 p.m., I find myself in the middle of Geneva in a burger joint waiting for this guy named Brian. And I'm sitting there tapping my leg like, oh, Marley seemed cool, like her son's probably cool too, right? And then Brian comes in, and I was sizing him up the way you do when you're like, I think that's the person, but I don't want to be wrong about it. Because Brian came in with 2 other people, and I was like, Brian? And he was like, hey, man, nice to meet you. I was like, hey, nice to meet you too. Hey, this is Calvin, and this is Mike. And we have burgers, fries, and shakes all over the table, and things were going well until Mike looked at Brian and said, is he cool? And I was like, I'm cool. And they start rolling joints on the table. 6 or 7 blunts, I don't know, but they did it without discretion. And I'm looking around the restaurant like, and they're like, no, it's cool, it's Geneva. And they're like, do you smoke? And in a split second, I lied. I was like, nah, never. Because I didn't have a good vibe. And so we left the restaurant, and we're walking aimlessly, and we walk into this bar. And in the bar, they're clearly serving like 15 and 16-year-olds. And Brian sees me taking this in, and he's like, oh man, don't worry, it's Geneva. And when we walk out of the bar, like 45 minutes later, it was almost like I went into that door at Narnia and came out into a whole different setting. On the street, there are sex workers walking around, and the energy is just like Geneva at night on Saturday. And Brian sees me taking this in, and he's like, don't worry, it's legal here. And the first thing in my mind was like, how am I gonna explain this to my mom, right? Because my mom was the type of person who she wouldn't go to sleep until I came back. So I'm clearly not cool. Like, I'm the one who's kind of like awkward, and I don't know how to like conversate with these people, and it's aimless energy where they're just like smoking in the street, and there's, you know, sex workers trying to get work, and the type of energy around that when people are trying to have a good time on a Saturday night, and I don't know how to make small talk with them, and I'm like, this is not my friend. But I don't know how to Irish exit because I'm 19 and I'm awkward, and if I come home too early, I know my mom's gonna ask me about it. So we're standing there, and there's this guy across the street who's like eyeing us, and I could feel the energy, and I don't know what to say, and after a while, he comes over, and he looks at Brian, and he says, who's this? And like my heart starts to beat because I can't tell where the situation is going. And Brian said, oh, no, he's cool. He's moving here this summer. And in my mind, I was like, am I? Like, it didn't feel that way. But he was setting it up, and I didn't want to misspeak. I couldn't read the situation. And Brian's smoking a blunt, and this guy says, are you ready? He looks at Brian, he says, are you ready? And then Brian's smoking, and he looks at me, and he says, Dave, you want to know why he's asking me if I'm ready? And I don't know what to say. I have no voice in this situation. And he looks at me and he says, Greg here sells the best crack in the city. And then I was like, this is definitely not my friend. And I don't know how to get out of this situation. I want to seem cool. I know I'm not coming off as cool. I know Marley and my mom are gonna be at work being like, how did it go, right? And after a while, Brian disappears with this guy. And I have to just fill in the blanks as to what's happening. And I don't know how to approach Calvin and Mike and these guys that I just met and say, hey, look, I gotta go home. And I feel like Brian's the one that I gotta settle with. And after a while, Brian comes back and like he's gone. You know, I can't even like look him in the eyes. So I just, in a very awkward way, I'm like, hey man, I'm going home. So I go home. And I'm trying to get to bed as soon as I can. And my mom's like, hey, how did it go? And I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Like, we got to fight tomorrow. Like, she said, no. How did it go? How did it go? Right? Somebody you can hang out with? And I said, Mom, I don't know. And she's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Was he doing drugs? Like, it's just like the Ugandan mom just. And I didn't know if it was my place to burst the bubble of this dream that she had been living in. I knew she'd have to go back to work. I knew that she'd have to confront Marley, and I said, Mom, no, he wasn't doing drugs. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, Mom, it's just not my people. And I was like, I'm tired, let's go to sleep. So I went to sleep. In the morning, my flight was after church. We went to church, and in church, we went to a church that Marley introduced my mom to. So we're sitting in the same pew as Marley and Brian, and it has the same energy if you've been on the first date and you know you're not gonna see that person again. That's how it was. And it's very awkward. And I knew based on the goodbyes after church, I don't know what Brian said to his mom, but I knew that she knew that I did not have a good time. And we say goodbye, and I'm at the airport giving my mom a hug. And she was like, tell me, what happened? Like, what happened? And I was like, Mom. And she says, was he doing drugs? And I was like, Mom, it's okay, it's just one person. Like, I don't have to be friends with it's just one person. I said, Mom, he's just not my people. And she had this sadness in her face. And for whatever reason, in a split second, I said, but Mom, you're my people. And she had this smile, the same smile that she welcomed me to Geneva with. And that smile is what I wanted to leave Geneva remembering, right? And I know that even though my first adult, I was 19, my first like adult blind play date, whatever you want to call it, did not go well. I was still looking at a woman who was living in her dream. And that was enough for me to be excited about coming back in the summer for. Thank you.
the leap from blunts to crack was severe, right? Like I did not see that twist coming. Holy shit. There's nothing like feeling uncomfortable in a foreign country, though. Like I immediately remember this time I was in Dublin, first time I'd ever been in Ireland, and I was meeting up with these kids that they'd worked in a bar that I lived above in Hoboken. They were just there for the summer, like, you know, we'd see them like bar backs and like we were friendly, whatever. I didn't know them though, you know? And so I get to Dublin and I'm like thinking I'm going to hang out with my friends, but then it's like, oh, these guys are actually strangers. And they take me out to a bar and we get pretty drunk. And then they're like, you guys want to go to another bar? Like one that stays open like after hours? And we're like, oh, okay. So we go to that bar, and you know, Dublin is not like New York City. Like, there's not people out like after like 11. So we drink there until like 3 a.m. and then you go outside, and there's no one. It's like a horror film. Like this place was full of people hours ago, and there's just this river there, and like I'm with these strangers. We're all wasted. I'm like, this is how people die in a river, right? Like somebody pushes somebody over, runs away, nobody knows what happened. So yeah, I was getting that kind of vibe from your story as well. But thank you so much for sharing that. It's amazing. I love the stories about your mom every time. Thanks, Dave. All right, our next storyteller, this is her first time on the show. Very excited to have her on. She loves swing dancing and chocolate. And she has performed on Generation Women, The Moth, Story Collider, among many others. Very excited to bring to the stage Rita Rigano.
Be in the light. Okay. Who is that? I was in love with being in love. In middle school, I had so many crushes on so many boys. Not all at once, I wasn't a slut. It was, you know, one at a time, like serial monogamy crushes. But they were all completely unrequited. But that was fine because I just loved the feeling, you know, just thinking about him and that delicious longing when you pine away for the current object of my affection. That was middle school. And then I got to high school, and freshman year was more of the same. But now it's sophomore year. I'm 15. And they announced the fall play. It's Dark of the Moon. I've never heard of it. Someone here knows it? Better theater education than I had. So I've never heard of it, but I audition and I get in. Yeah, forget boys. They're not helping me. There's nothing happening there. I am going to focus on my career. I'm an actress. I'm in a play. I have a part. It's a small part. I'm mostly in the background scenes, but I have 2 lines. I'm in a play. I love it. I love going to rehearsal. I love being on the stage and learning the blocking and hanging out with the other theater kids and all day. I can't wait for school to be over so I can just go to rehearsal. And then I notice Billy Sheridan. He's a junior. He's in the play too. He's also in the background scenes. He's got like sandy brown hair and a wispy little goatee. Little scruffy looking. He wears a black leather jacket with a silver chain here all the time, even inside. Yeah, kind of a bad boy energy happening there. And he notices me noticing him. We start walking home from rehearsal together. I don't know how to do this. All my experience of being in love, I never had actual conversations with any of them. And I'm excited and I'm nervous and it's awkward. So mostly he talks and I just laugh at whatever he said. and when I say we walked home together, what was really happening was that I was walking about as far out of my way as I could go. before it was ridiculous. There were a lot of small back streets that led away from the high school, but then we got to Palmer Avenue, like the main street, and he went right, I had to go left. But, we did that for a few days, and it's fine. One night, we get to Palmer Avenue. He leans in, and he kisses me. Now, I have zero experience being kissed, but I did not need experience to know that this is a really good kiss. I kiss him back. We kiss again. We kiss again. But it's fall, and it's dark. We're standing under a street light. So we move into the shadows, and we continue kissing. Finally, we separate, and he goes right, and I go left. Oh, wow. I am sure that anyone who looks at me can tell. It's obvious. I am a woman. Well, now, I know my mom is going to be home from work by the time I get home, and I know she'll notice, and she probably won't like it. So I'm trying to think, how do I preempt that, right? Because she's very traditional. She works outside the home, but she's very traditional and a little repressed. So I say, Mom, he kissed me goodnight. She says, a goodnight kiss can lead to trouble. That's a lot. But not totally an unexpected, if somewhat extreme reaction from my mom. I didn't really think this would be a topic that we could share, and now I know for sure. So I go into my bedroom, I close the door, and I just try to cool down before I have to go to the dinner table. So now I can't wait for school to be over so I can go to rehearsal. And I can't wait for rehearsal to be over so I can make out with Billy Sheridan. And this continues for about 2 weeks. But that's all. He doesn't call me, we don't do anything else. Nobody else in the cast even knows that we're a thing. But it's so nice, so it's okay. And now a 3-day weekend is coming up. How? How am I going to survive 3 days without kissing Billy Sheridan? On Friday, he says to me, there's no school on Monday, you want to hang out? Yes, I do. I do want to hang out, yes. I'll call you. Saturday and Sunday were the longest days of my life. Finally, Monday, 9 o'clock Monday morning, I am dressed, I am ready. Yeah, no, I know, Billy's not the kind of guy who's going to be up early on a day of no school, but I just want to be ready just in case. 10 o'clock, it's still early, 11 o'clock. No call. By noon, it's not really early anymore, and I'm really worried. He doesn't like me anymore. He doesn't want to hang out with me. He forgot about me. I don't know what happened. The whole afternoon goes by, and he doesn't call, and I just keep walking past the phone, the landline in the kitchen, and looking at it and willing it to ring, and it does not. My mother gets home around 5:30, and she says, "Who were you on the phone with all day?" No one. I was not on the phone with anyone. Well, every time I tried to call, I got a busy signal. What? Y'all know what a busy signal is? When you had a landline, if you were on the phone and somebody tried to call, it just went, and there was no way for you to know that they were trying to call or that. We went and looked at the phone. At a glance, it looked fine, but when you got up close, you could see that the handset wasn't quite all the way down, and one of those little buttons on the landline wasn't pushed all the way down. So as far as the phone company was concerned, that phone was unavailable all day. Okay, but this is good. This means he probably did try to call me. He just couldn't get through. No, this is bad. He probably tried to call me, but he couldn't get through. Next day at school, he's really mad. I'm sorry, I know, the phone was off the hook. I didn't know it was off, but then I found out. But I was there, I was ready, Didn't matter. Nothing I could say. Since he didn't have any plans, his father made him do yard work all day. Yeah, he's really, really mad. And it turns out that our relationship wasn't strong enough to survive a crisis of this magnitude. I know. It was so sad. I couldn't kiss Billy Sheridan anymore. However, I learned two really important things. Is if you have a landline, make sure it's hung up properly. And it's wonderful to pine away for unrequited love, but kissing is better. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. I feel like a goodnight kiss can lead to trouble would be like the title of a pamphlet you get at Sunday school, you know? But your first kiss story, way better than mine. Mine, I'm in a movie theater, and like a bunch of my friends are sitting in the row behind me and this girl just watching us, like wait, because they all know this is gonna be like my first kiss. So it's like I'm on stage. Not a good kiss. Pretty sure it was mostly my fault, but not a good kiss. And you said you felt like you were a real woman afterwards. I felt like I'd never been such a child after mine. So I'm glad it was so good for you. Brought up some trauma for me, but that's okay. I'm better now, I think. One more time for Rita, everybody. Lovely story. We have one more storyteller for you. But before we get to him, I just want to quickly do a little housekeeping here. You might be sitting at home, watching the live stream, sitting here in the audience, listening to these stories, and something sparks, and you're like, oh, I actually have a good story about when I was a teenager. And if you do, we would love to hear it. We would love for you to pitch us your story if you're interested in coming up here and doing this sometime. We get a lot of our storytellers through our pitch email, awkwardteenagers@gmail.com is the best way to get to us. That's how we got Rita and Mikayla tonight. They sent pitches to our email, and here they are, doing an awesome job. So please, reach out if that interests you at all. If you'd like to know more about upcoming shows, we do this every other first Wednesday. You're not going to remember that. So just follow us on Instagram, and then we'll tell you when the show is. So we're going to do this again in September, and then November, and then January, et cetera, et cetera. We were most active on Instagram. We are also on Facebook. We don't do much posting there. We have Threads. Anybody doing Threads? Yeah? Are you really doing it, though, or are you just like you have your account? I feel like that's what most people are doing. So we're doing that, too. And then we have YouTube. So we've done this show. This is our 51st show. Yeah. Please clap it up for a 51st show. We did 13 Zoom shows during the pandemic. I know we've mostly blocked that out, but and then we've done 38 live shows. So all of them, except for one, are on our YouTube page that you can watch at your leisure. And if you just search up at Awkward Teenage Years on any of these sites, you'll find all of this stuff. We hope that you do. And if you follow us, we follow back. So, yeah, is that still a thing people care about? No. Okay. But don't look for us on X because we don't do Nazi stuff. We have a hard line there. So, yes. All right. That's it. That's all the stuff. Our final storyteller. Very excited to have him here. This is probably his 5th, 6th, I don't know, 7th time? Who knows? One of our favorites. He's a Caribbean-American writer, award-winning storyteller, and a community activist. Also a husband and father living in Brooklyn. Please welcome to the stage, Devan Sandiford.
Thank you. So I'm not sure my awkward teenage years ever ended, actually. A couple of summers ago, I was in Spain and Portugal. We were going to be driving with my family from Madrid all the way to Lisbon. It was about a 6-hour drive. I was 30 minutes in, and I really had to pee. But by this point, my sons and my wife were already asleep. And if you're a father, if you're a parent, you know that you do not wake up your children while you're driving. And so I thought, I'll just wait until they wake up. Once they wake up, they're going to need to go. And For me, I actually had a really good distraction, something that was keeping my mind on having to use the bathroom. Before we had left Madrid, I had finally read this letter my dad had given me. It was an incident report from high school that my teacher had given him. And for me, I was like, I don't need to read this. I was there. My teacher actually wasn't there at all. So what had happened was I was in shop class. My older brother had recommended I take shop because it was the easiest class, an easy A. And so immediately in my freshman year, I took shop class. Within 3 weeks, I could confirm it was the easiest class. The teacher hardly showed up. We only had one assignment for the entire term. We just had to make this 4-piece train set. You could work at your own pace, get tips from other classmates, and like even share notes. And so most days we would just hang out, have a good time, pretty much do nothing. Until this one day I decided I'm actually gonna do some work today. I picked up my train set, got the little axles that I was gonna use for the wheels, started walking towards the bandsaw, and I saw one of my classmates, Jamie Clean, walking as well, so I walked a little faster, got there before him, stared over my shoulder, gave him a little look, and I was like, yep, I got here before you. And I'm getting ready to put my wood into the bandsaw, and Jamie pushes my hand from the back. And if you don't know what a bandsaw is, it's a huge saw that has this blade that's like a band. It goes around in a circle. The only part that you see is this tooth part that cuts the wood. And so I look over my shoulder, I'm like, hey, like this is power machinery, like chill out, like I'm about to do it. You got me, I got you, we're even now. And so I go to put my hands down to do the thing again, and Jamie bumps my hand again, except this time I can't pull my hand back in time. My finger goes directly into the bandsaw, cuts a huge gash down my finger, and I pull my hand back, and I see these 2 drops of blood flying between me and dropping between me and Jamie. And as I look up from the blood, I see Jamie's face. He's like, oh my God, and he's freaking out. And I'm like, Jamie, it's all right, just calm down, it's fine, it's not that bad. And I walk over to the sink, and I start washing it out, and I notice 2 things right away. It's actually not bleeding as much as I thought it would be, and then I actually don't feel any pain at all. All I'm freaking out about is this guy, Jamie Colleen, is going nuts. Oh my God, is your finger okay? Is it gonna fall off? Like, he's just going on, and I'm like, Jamie, chill, it's cool, it's fine. I pack up my stuff, I put it away, and in my head, the next logical thing to do is to go to the elementary school nurse. You know, the same nurse that gives you crackers when you're sick as a little kid? That's where I went. I wrapped my finger in paper towel, I walked over there thinking that she could help me, and as soon as she saw the cut, she's like, yeah, you need to go to the office to call your mom. She needs to pick you up immediately. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. So I walk back over to the high school, go to the office, and I call my mom. And she asks, like, how bad is it? And I'm like, it's not that bad. She's like, well, can you wait till the end of the day? I was like, yeah, I think I'll be fine. And so she's like, I'll pick you up later. And so I go back to my class. I actually end up going back to my class, going to lunch. The teacher of the shop class actually finds me at lunchtime. Somebody had informed him that something had happened in class, and he sees me and he's like asking me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I cut my finger in the thing, somebody had bumped me, and he's asking me like who the person is, and for whatever reason, I'm like really stalling, and he can tell that I'm like freaking out about giving the other person's name. He's like, don't worry, they're not gonna get in trouble, I just need to know what happened. And so I'm like, reluctantly, I give up Jamie's name and I go about my business. My mom ends up picking me up later in the day. When she sees me, she immediately takes me to the emergency room. She's like, this is terrible. We go to the desk, they ask me on pain on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? And for me, I pause for a second because I don't really understand the scale. Not that I don't understand what 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest, but for me, I never could really understand, is 10 the most pain that I've felt or the most pain that I've seen someone else feel? And so I think about it for a while, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's a 3. And they send me back to the waiting room, and as soon as we get into the waiting room, I was like, what? Why did you tell them it was a 3? You're gonna have to wait this really long time in front of all these people. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. It's not that bad, I guess. And I'm there for hours, just at this point, excruciating pain, shaking there, finally go in, get 13 stitches in my finger. And as I'm thinking about this experience, as I'm driving from Madrid all the way to Portugal, I'm thinking to myself, like, what was wrong with young Devan? Like, that was crazy. Like, he clearly needed to go get help. And fortunately, my younger son wakes up and I'm like, perfect, he's gonna need to go to the bathroom because I still need to use the bathroom. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, man, come on. And I don't want to wake up my older son and my wife, and so I wait a little bit longer. Maybe I'm like 2.5 hours into this trip, so I've been holding my pee for 2 hours until finally my older son wakes up and he's like, Dad, I got to use the bathroom. I'm like, perfect. I knew he would save me. So we go to the bathroom. I actually let him go first, and while he's in there, I look at Instagram, and it turns out one of my friends who's a doctor has this clip up about holding your pee and how bad it is for you. And I'm like, man, here I am again, putting off something that I should have taken care of, and I'm feeling so frustrated at myself. I don't know why I'm like this. I just still cannot put my own needs first. And I think the answer that I've been able to come to for a really long time is that when I was 6 years old, my mom's youngest brother was shot and killed by the police outside our home. And for me, as much pain as it was to think about my uncle, what was really hard was to know that my mom was going through so much pain herself. And it was always easier for me to just be like, I'm fine, to be concerned about the other people. And so as I'm driving to Lisbon, I finally get there thinking about this, and we get in there, I actually have to use the bathroom again. And so I go into the bathroom, and as I'm sitting there, I'm smelling like this cigarette smoke. And at first I'm like, it's not that bad, like, it'll be fine. But ever since I was little, I've had asthma actually, and it doesn't affect me at all when I got to be an adult, but the one thing that it did do, if I stay in a place, a car or a home that's been smoked in, I start to have headaches, my chest gets tight, and it gets harder for me to breathe. And my first instinct was still like, man, this Airbnb host is gonna be out of a tenant for a week. I felt bad for them, but then I went out into the patio and I was like, you know what? If taking care of my own breathing isn't a priority for me, it's probably a problem. And so I finally went and told my wife, we gotta find a hotel. We got a luxury hotel, and we moved from there. I finally took care of myself, and it felt like huge progress. Thank you.
My favorite part of that story is definitely that you have to calm Jamie down when you're the one that's got the finger that's cut down to the bone. Yeah, incredible. Thank you, Devan. Thank you for that story. Thank you, everybody. That's our show. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Let's hear it one more time for all of our storytellers, from Mikayla and Ronna and Dave and Rita and Devan. Lauren is up in the booth. She's our amazing tech. She's been with us for all of the 51 shows. Thank you to Frigid for hosting us here for all these years. We'll be back here on, I want to say September the 3rd, but if that's not a Wednesday, it's the Wednesday of that week. We'd love to see you back here again. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.